Good morning, friends. How are you? Wherever you might be in the world, and welcome to today's Cichlids and Coffee. Wherever you are, I hope you're having your favorite beverage, like I am. So, how are you today? You having a good weekend? At the very beginning of the weekend, a little cold here in Nashville. Not too cold though, but I do have my space heater running here in the fish room, and it is keeping it comfortable. Thing is, Dr. Heater is the name of it, and it keeps this room actually comfortable. I have it set at 68 degrees. I am not sponsored by Dr. Heater, but it's doing a great job. Let's see who we have here. Cat Sailor in the house, Paul Newman, DSGF. Good morning to all of you. Adam Frankel. Hey, Adam. Let's see. Michael Lotanero is here along with Ron. Hey, Liquid Zoo. Good to see you. And Z-Zip. Good morning, Z-Zip. The Fish Fam Link is in the house along with Dustin Robley. Awesome. Very, very cool. Angelo is here. Kendall G. Good to see you, Kendall. Demar's in the house. Hello to you, Demar's. AV is great. Thank you, Kendall. I appreciate that. Love when you tell me about it before I have to ask, because it takes me out of the realm of mystery. And if you go through my live stream archives, you will see you'll see videos where my mouth was moving, but there was no sound. You'll also see videos where the picture is upside down. So always good when you let me know up front. Thank you, Denny. Sailing Aquatics and Denny in the house. Some of my wonderful moderators. I have the best moderators on YouTube. Hey, Andy. Good morning to you. From the Florida Keys. Wow. That's on my bucket list. I do want to go to the Florida Keys. Maybe do a little snorkeling if the sharks aren't too aggressive. So we have a good topic today, and it's going to be about the ongoing evolution, the ongoing evolvement of aquariums, and how it is a changing fluid situation, like it says in the thumbnail, and how we have to always be in, not necessarily always every living second, but certainly have to be aware of change of the evolving condition of the aquarium and adjusting things to meet those changing conditions. And so I'll be getting more into that in a minute. And I also have a short little fish room walkthrough for you. Just a short little video that'll be coming up as well. And let's see here. Someone said that it's snowing somewhere. Someone's got snow. That's cool. I was hoping we'd have a white Christmas here, but we didn't get it. Peas and Haps in the house. All right. Mark Cox. Good morning to you, Mark Cox. Very, very good. All right. Well, let's do this. Let's go ahead and do the official start. What do you say? Okay, now it's official. We are officially underway. So, you know, my vantage point here is just so much fun, and I wish I could. Maybe someday I'll get a second camera that points this way, because I've got the red tear on my left here. I've got the 210 Central and South American tank. I've got the 55-gallon, and the rasboras are just schooling back and forth and back and forth. And the acaras, the albino acaras, are gathered up as a bunch in the middle, just staring at me. And the 90-gallon, the red-spotted gold severum, is just staring at me, and so's the red shoulder. But this vantage point is just so it's so diverse, and it's so pleasing for me to sit here and look at these tanks. And I just wish I had eyes on the back of my head. I could see what these guys are doing as well. But at any rate, it's just such a very cool vantage point. Midi Mac in the house. Water changes done early this week. Good for you, my friend. I'm going to be doing water changes on the 210 and the 300. Bill D in the house. Hello, Bill. So let's get into today's topic. And there's a couple things that are going to be happening. First of all, I have I'm looking at what my next, and you folks can give me some advice on this. I have 3 types of fish in play. And by that, what I mean is 3 types of fish on my mind that I want to go ahead and bring into the fish room. The question is under what stages? What will be the stages that they're introduced? How will they be introduced? Where will they be quarantined? And then where do they go after that? Now, the first fish I'm thinking about, and I'm talking about this with Josh over at Cunningham, is picking up some Congo tetras. Congo tetras are one of those fish that every time I've gone into a fish store and they've had several of them in a tank, they've always been a little bit of a showstopper for me, both in the shape of the fins and also the coloration, their level of activity, just about everything about them. So some Congos are going to come in, probably 5 of them. I'll probably put them in the 29-gallon, give them about a month. Now, I might also include with that maybe 4 or 5 redhead Tapajos. Now, where I'm going to get those, I'm not sure. Possibly, I know Imperial has them. I think Dan's has them. There's several fish locations have redhead Tapajos. So I'd like to get maybe 5 redhead Tapajos. Now, I think both the redhead Tapajos and the Congo tetras would end up going into the 90-gallon. The question becomes for me is that 90-gallon going to, am I going to continue to add fish to that tank, or am I going to do a radical change in that tank where just about all the fish in it come over to the 300? And when I do that, turn the 90 into a discus tank, because I found a source of discus. Now, they're small discus, and very often the mortality rate on when you buy them really small, very often, you will have some that don't make it. They tend to be a little more fragile when they're smaller, but maybe pick up between 5 and 10 with the hope that 7 of them, 6 or 7 actually make it to adulthood. Put them in the 90 with some live plants. Now, the way I would transition that, first of all, the fish in the 90, except for the Buenos Aires tetras, I think those would probably go back to maybe the aquatic critter, or I'd put them somewhere else, but the fish would go from the 90 into the 210. Then I would wait for about maybe 2 to 4 weeks of observing them in the 210 to make sure that they're doing okay in the 210, that they're not getting beaten up. Once I know that that's stable, then I would go ahead and place the order for the discus. And then with the 90-gallon being more or less an empty tank, except maybe for a pleco that's in there, just something that was kind of keeping the bacteria alive, I would then start the addition of plants, and then go ahead and drop the discus directly into the 90 when they arrive, because they could go ahead and quarantine, being the only fish in there. So that could work as both a show tank and a quarantine tank, as a sort of new startup, as a discus tank, replacing the plastic plants with a variety of plants. It's a tall tank, so I'd probably want to put a jungle val in there, and definitely some water sprite and hornwort, and just make it so that the plants are really helping with the filtering and maintaining the tank in the pristine conditions that discus require. I also have a UV, right, a green killing machine. So I have UV already on that tank, which is recommended, highly recommended when you have discus. So the tank is already sort of prepped for discus, apart from needing plants. The question is, will these fish thrive in the 210 gallon, or will they be torn up? Now, the other thing I'm contemplating, when I bring all the fish over from the 90 to the 210, do I at the same time, because of the amount of confusion that's going to create, right? I mean, when you bring one fish into an aquarium, and I hear this from folks a lot of times complaining about aggression. When you add one fish, that fish becomes a curiosity to every fish in the tank. And if there's going to be some aggression, that fish is going to get singled out and probably destroyed. But if I bring over a whole bunch of fish, right? A large hecali, 2 large geos, 2 good-sized severums, 2 electric blue acaras. I bring over a large amount of fish all at once. And what if I include in that the red tear? I pull the red tear out of the 55 and I try him again in the 210. And will that degree of confusion and activity and motion actually spread out the aggression and not make it so that any one of the fish gets destroyed? So this is that fluid situation that's rolling around in my head. Now, in the 210, I have another situation. I have fish that have become much larger. When fish become much larger, they require more food. More food, of course, is going to be producing more ammonia. So we need more maintenance. You also need perhaps more filtration. So part of the plan, part of the grand scheme of things here that I'm rolling around in my head is swapping out the 29-gallon sump that is on the 210, bringing all the media that's in that sump and putting it into a 40-gallon breeder. Now, I'm already talking with my friend Joe over at the aquatic, not the aquatic critter, but at Glass Cages. Glass Cages over in Dixon, Tennessee. The folks that made all the large tanks in this fish room is Glass Cages. So I'm talking to Glass Cages, and I'm looking at getting a 40-gallon from them, pulling out the 29 that's under there, throwing all the media that's in the 29 right into that 40, and also picking up some new sponges from Swiss Tropicals, the same size sponges that I have in the 40-gallon breeder that's under this 300-gallon behind me. That's going to give me more water, right? The solution to pollution is dilution, right? So more water capacity, probably double the sump water capacity that I'm currently at. And I'd leave the same pump on there, the Cichlid 9.0, which is doing a great job. Just swap out the aquarium so that there's more water and there's a greater volume, a greater surface area of media. So that has to be figured into the strategy. So before I would bring over the fish, from the 90-gallon and the red tear from the 55 and dump them into the 210 and watch and observe how that plays out. I probably would want to have that sump project done so that I have the larger water capacity already in the sump. Now, in that equation, there's a gate valve on the back of the sump, on the plumbing of the sump of the 210. There's a gate valve that from time to time has been a little leaky. Now, it hasn't leaked in about 3 months. I've got it clamped down. But if I shut it and then open it, it'll start a slow leak. So that valve, I mean, you can clamp the screw down, but the truth is it shouldn't be doing that. So I'm thinking about getting a better quality gate valve, one that has what is called union attachments on the top and bottom of the valve, so that I'm not having to cut the pipe to remove it. I'm going to have to cut the pipe to remove it. So while I'm doing the swap out on the sump, I'll probably swap out that gate valve for one that's a higher quality gate valve. A gate valve of that type with two unions, a union on the top and the bottom, so you can just unscrew it and pull it out when you need to. Those gate valves are about $80 to $100. So you're kind of getting an idea of the extent of this project. So it's going to be quite a project, and but the tank will be ready. The 210 will be ready to accommodate more fish. And the truth is that the sump should probably be expanded anyway, only because the amount of size and the amount of waste production. I mean, you folks remember that Oscar. The Oscar was this big when I picked him up. I mean, he's like that now. The Vieja was like this. The Vieja's like that. The chocolates are twice as large as they were before. The Salvini is a third larger. The silver dollars are larger. I mean, they're all bigger. They're all bigger now. So there's more stress. So a swap out of the sump is going to occur regardless. And while I'm at it, I might as well go ahead and do that valve. Replace the valve. But what if all the fish on the 90 don't work out in the 210 and I've got to return them all to the 90? Extra filtration isn't going to be a problem. But what that would do then is it would get me to have to rethink how I'm going to add discus to the fish room. Now, the other option on discus is I do have a 60-gallon acrylic that I'm not doing anything with. It's just sitting on its side behind this aquarium. So I might, right here to my right, where I have the live bear tank, reinforce that shelf right there, reinforce it, and then put that 60-gallon right there, and use that for discus. Even though I think that being a taller tank, the 90 would be a better discus tank. So, and the 90 is a very established tank. So you want to put discus into a very mature, established aquarium. I would have live plants in it for a while before I'd put the discus in there, before I'd order them. I would just want that tank to be a real healthy sort of, ecosystem before I would bring in discus, which are notorious for being a bit sensitive. So at any rate, those are some of the plans, and it is a sort of evolving. It's going to be a year of evolution, a year of evolving here in the fish room to accommodate both the increasing size of the fish and also the addition of new fish. The neon rainbows that I want to pick up. And I think I've seen some of those over at Dan's. The neon rainbows would go into the planted aquarium. I think that's where I'd put the neon rainbows. So they would quarantine in the 29 for a month and then come on over into the planted. Now the planted 55 is being filtered by an Emperor 400. So I think that's a big enough hang on back to really handle that bioload. Maybe down the road, maybe I'll throw a sponge filter in there just for a little extra water movement and oxygen. But I think that it's doing, I think it's doing a pretty good job. I also have some expert Maddox, but I don't think I want to have that kind of water movement in the 55 blowing those fish around. Now, the red tear, it turns out, after I've done a little more research on red tears, they actually like water movement. So I've got that expert Matic in there pointed right into the middle of the tank so he can go ahead and play in it. And they apparently like the water movement. And you'll see what I'm talking about when I get into the video. I do have well, let me go ahead and answer. Some of you are just pummeling me with questions. If anybody did a super chat while I was talking, I'm sorry I missed it. I wasn't looking at the chat. Let me look at the chat now. Paul Newman just finished a 40-gallon breeder water change. Next is the 60-gallon cube. You go, Paul. You go, Paul. Just go ahead and keep going, my friend. So many people tell me they do the live stream in the background while they do their water changes. Good morning, David Singer. William Dyer in the house. DSGF, good morning. Let me see. I am scrolling the chat. I guess I can show you the chat. Why not, right? There you go. There's the chat. Dustin is the one who said, Dustin Robley's got some snow. I like snow, actually. But I like it. I don't like it so heavy where I can't move around, but I do like it. I love looking out the window. We have a lot of trees in our area here. It's a little rural, and I love when the trees are outlined with snow on the top of the branches. I think it's one of the prettiest things you can see. Let's see here. Ronald said he installed a 110, a Tidal 110, but the skimmer adjustment is missing. Wow. Well, that's good. They're going to replace it for you. Yeah, the Tidal 110, that's a good hang-on back. I hear nothing but really good things about it. Jerry's Fish Room in the house. Be sure to check out Jerry's Fish Room on YouTube. And one of my last videos, I was talking to Jerry about the way he was feeding his fish. And I think he thought that last video was picking on him directly. And I wasn't picking on you, Jerry. But I did think about you. Oh, geez. Michael Welsh says, I'm sorry I'm late. Michael, you're going to have to produce a note. It's okay, you're late, buddy. Ronald, I also run a 55 on my 30 gallon. What? And love. He's setting up a 75. Ronald is setting up a 75 gallon. 75 gallons are deceptively a good size. Peas and Haps Forever agrees on the Congos. Very cool. And DD Aquarium has 4 redheads. What do you think about those redheads, DD? I mean, the ones that I have, my earth eaters, really grew fast. Did those redheads, were they slow growers? I know they put on good size. I wouldn't put the Congos with Michael. I wouldn't put the Congos with the discus. I think maybe they're too busy. I know discus like a little bit of a calm environment, so I wouldn't put anything too crazy in there. Peas and haps forever. Can't believe how fast his Malawi trout is growing. Yeah, they get up to 14, as much as 19 inches in the wild, 14 to 16, 17 inches in captivity. So, oh yeah. It's one of the reasons I got this tank, because it has a lot of turnaround room. I think it's 33 inches front to back. So I knew that Malawi trout, with the encouragement of James Largo, I went ahead and got a deeper tank. Let's see here. Ex-Kali Kev in the house. Collaboration of Curiosities. What a cool name. Jerry says that he loves hearing this stuff, but it's not helping me with my new resolution of patience and enjoying what I have and slowing down. Now, Jerry, keep in mind, what I'm talking about is going to be evolving over the course of 2024. It's not happening next week. So yeah, definitely take your time, enjoy it. Remember, patience, still a key word. Top MF in here. Where did Ben get his fake? Unfortunately, Top MF, my plants were from a company called Elite Cichlids, who are no longer around. They had a tragedy in the family and they shut the business down. Fortunately, I was helping them out almost in a sponsored arrangement, and they were sending me a lot of plants, and so I was able to score a lot of them before they actually went under. But when Mom died, she was the backbone of that business. It was a family business, and it's just sort of a bit of a sad story. Ed Libertori in the house. Yeah, always thinking, Ed. Always thinking about directions to go in and what's needed. At the same time, as Jerry pointed out, keeping it with patience and doing it sensibly, not rushing, not speeding up quarantine like I've talked about in the recent videos. And you do it all, a little bit at a time, and you get there. So if by the end of 2024, I have some beautiful albino acaras, I have a few discus that are thriving, I'm either breeding the red tear or I have it in the 210. I've added some key African cichlids like Insignis, maybe a big spot, maybe an eye biter, adding a few more, maybe a Bucanoto, adding a few more to the big tank behind me. If I've accomplished that by the end of the year, and if I've got that 60-gallon up and running with something in it, either having it dedicated to the threadfin acaras or having it be the discus tank or have it doing something. If I were to accomplish those things and do the swap out on the 210, if I accomplish those things in 2024, the year would be a success, would be a fish room success with those objectives. So, and that's not putting the bar, that's not setting the bar too high so that I end up frustrated. So, Dave, I love Frontosa, but that's not really on the list right now as much as I like them, especially blue and spider Frontosas. Tabarak Aquatics in the house. Hey, Hey, Tabarak. I'm looking at your chat here, and then we're going to go ahead and play a short video for you. Well, that's not a bad idea, William. You know, William says to go ahead and set up the 60, and if the fish don't work out in the 210, I can always pull them back to the 60 and leave the 90 open as a discus tank. That wouldn't be a bad idea. I just don't want to create a situation where I might get jammed up. In other words, I've got a fish that's got to go somewhere else, and I've got nowhere to put him. So right now I've got a 29 that's open. I've got a little 5-gallon that's open. And then I have the adventure of plecos. You know, I've got so many baby plecos. You know, they're becoming almost like a parasite. I'm probably going to give some of them over to the aquatic critter. And but if you're in Middle Tennessee, my friend, come on over. I'll get you some plecos. Yeah, Kendall. I'm glad you like the ideas, and yeah, it's got to get spaced out so that nobody. I don't end up, like I said, feeling like I'm in a corner and I'm out of options, and I have you know, I don't want to have to fill up a tote. Now I do have a tote back here. I have like a 40-gallon tote, and that tote is like a 911 tote. Everybody should have a 911 tote sitting around. Let's say an aquarium springs a leak. You can go ahead and fill up that tote and just dump all the fish in, dump the heater in there, transfer the filtration over, and you're good to go. So everybody should have a tote in their fish room available that's nice and clean and ready to go into action. So I don't want to get into a situation where you know, a tote is like one of those things that it's good to have, but you hope you never use it, like life insurance, you know. So let's see here. All right, let's go ahead and play that little video for you. Let's go ahead and get that video that I put together. It's just our first walkthrough for 2024. Let's go ahead and do that. Here we go. I hope you enjoy it. So we'll start here with the 300-gallon African cichlid tank. And you can see they're very curious and very interactive because they haven't been fed yet. So they're all hanging out wherever I'm standing. But these fish are looking good, except for one, which is in the back left corner of the tank, and you really can't see him, but that's my tangerine tiger, who's just sort of winding down, I think. But everyone else is looking pretty good. The Kawingi, Malawi hawk, sand diver. People love the big lips on that Malawi gar. The Bucachromis hanging out the top there. And that Fusco continues to grow as compared to the Venusis, which continues to be a little bit of a runt. Over in the 210, things are business as usual. There's Sally the Salvini, asserting her territory. But the Vieja and the Oscars are not too afraid of her, even though she does have a bit of a bite. My dither fish, my silver dollars, seem to be doing well. I mean, they are first cousins to the piranha, so I think they do have some attitude. Love the colors on that vieja. And of course, the Jack Dempsey, she's looking good. Getting a little bit of a red fringe on the dorsal. Getting harassed a little bit there, but not much. This green terror has really kind of started to blossom a little more, eating and being a bit more active and aggressive. Little Nicaragua's back there just being shy. Let's see if we can coax her up to the front. This firemouth is just a beautiful specimen. Just love this fish. Picked him up locally. Love the green on the eye. That's what really pushed me over the edge on buying him. There she is. She's a pretty fish and pretty docile. Gets into a little bit of a face-off occasionally with the firemouth, but otherwise nothing serious. The chocolates never stop surprising me on just the color changes they go through. Of course, the Oscar is like the big star of the tank. Both the albino and the red tigers. Nothing I've ever owned has grown quite as fast as that red tiger Oscar. Red Terror is hiding in his cave this morning, being real shy, so we'll go right over to the planted tank where you can see that my albino Ocharas are doing well. The hornwort just kind of drifts around. I've harvested some of it and put it in the Red Terror tank, and also I put a little bit in the 90-gallon that you'll see in a second, but it just keeps growing like a weed. You can see it looks pretty healthy. Gives the fish a place to hide, gives a little shadow to the Anubias. I changed the lighting a little bit. But if you like these albinos too much, they almost overwhelm the camera, kind of like the way the red-spotted gold severum does. And you can see they're doing well. I did see a couple of them get into it with each other, kind of do a little face-off, but it didn't last too long. So again, it's a fish that I'll just keep an eye on, and they are really in a peaceful tank, so I can't have them become really aggressive. My lemon tetras there. Love those lemons. Got some red serpas back there. Love the way the rasboras school. I've had these 5 for quite a long time. I think they're very cute fish. First fish I ever owned at age 6. Rasboras. A little underrated. I think their pattern is actually very, very pretty. Some cories in here. Of course, I've got that whiptail cat, that weird whiptail. Couple plecos in here. Here's the 90-gallon. Everybody's doing great in here. And you have the geos looking good. The Ocharas, the electric blue Ocharas, have really blossomed in this tank. I had one that was already pretty colored up, and the other one was a little drab, but I'll show you the other one in a second. There's the SAE back there. The only fish he seems to be harassing are the Buenos Aires tetras. Here's the other one, the second one. And this was a little bit of a drab one when I brought him over, and now is looking really, really good. Here's that red-spotted gold severum. This red shoulder is pretty aggressive. The truth is, I'm probably going to try him in the 300-gallon and see if he can hang with the big boys. Here's the Hecali, the plain version of the albino Ochara. I think it's a beautiful fish. You can see the trailers on the tail and the dorsal fin, little red trailers, little thread fins. SAE seems to be loving his life in here, but I might be putting him back in the 29. We'll see what direction this tank takes. Hospital quarantine tank is empty right now, except for a pleco. I'm hoping to be putting some tapajos, redhead tapajos, or maybe some Congo tetras in there, and have them go through quarantine. Maybe some neon rainbow fish. We'll see. We'll see what I get my hands on. Live bear tank keeps producing fry, as usual. Some nice little platies in here. Cute little cories, part of the cleanup crew, along with the pleco. Like a little panda cory. We've got guppies and platy fry. You can see they're ready to be fed. I've been feeding them that North Fin fry starter. Also break up a little bit of the community, the extreme community food. They seem to like that too. Go over to the betta penthouse. Not sure where the betta is. He's hiding back there in the hornwort, or maybe he's gone into one of the caves. But you can see the tank is just looking lush. Little hornwort. And look at that, just an army of plecos. This is a second clutch. I don't know, would you call it a clutch? Just a second group of fry. And they're just everywhere, all over the tank. Some of them look like they're albinos. Maybe they'll color up later, I'm not sure. Again, the hornwort is going crazy. Seems to really like the water and lighting conditions. I am using those aquarium co-op lights on all of my tanks. And the smaller tanks all have the aquarium co-op sponges and heaters, sponge filters and heaters. But you can see they're all over the place. You can see the two sponge filters I'm running. These are two medium sponge filters. There's some more. And here you can tell the difference between the two spawns. You can see the second group on the top there, how much smaller he is than that last batch of plecos. So I don't know what I'm going to do with all these plecos, because I also have a small 5-gallon tank that's full of them. So if you're in Middle Tennessee and you want some plecos, come on by. I'll give you a handful. So there you go. All right, I got to get going and get this live stream underway. So there you go. All right. Take that headphone off. So hope you enjoyed that. That's a walkthrough. The red tear, of course, is out now, and probably the betta is out. So what I'm probably going to do is add those to that video and release it as a lap of the fish room, and also correct the one part in the video where I said I'd be adding the red shoulder to the 300-gallon. I would never do that. That red shoulder would get destroyed in the 300-gallon. He would go over to the 210 and live with South and Central American fish, not with African cichlids, Malawi predator haps. That would not be a good mix. Even though I'm sure someone will probably comment under the video, well, my severums are living with my African cichlids just fine. At any rate, no matter what you put out there, there's always someone that's going to say, well, it is working for me. Even on something like quarantine, you'll have people that go, well, I've never quarantined and I've never had a problem. You know, it's that old idea, is because it hasn't happened, it's not going to happen. Very similar to the logic of, I think I'm going to live forever. So far, so good. So it sounds good. It seems to make sense, but not entirely. So we had some folks join in. I noticed Lady Diane came in. I saw Ireland first came in the house. Somebody from Ireland. Good to have you here. Did you see my my video from the Seahorse Aquarium in Dublin? I visited the Seahorse Aquarium in Dublin. What a great shop, and what a great crew they had there. Really enjoyed that. Check out the videos on the Seahorse Aquarium in Dublin. So let's see here. Any other questions that I can answer before we end off? Ron loves the community. I love the community too, Ron. We are blessed with a great group of people. And yes, thoughts and prayers for anyone who is deployed to the Middle East. I know one of you, I know Ron asked us to put a thought there for him. And also a thought for our kind friend Brian, who left us. Those of you who know the that YouTube channel that concentrated primarily on reptiles, and Brian has left this world. He had a fight with cancer and lost. So anyway, isn't everything a fluid situation, including life itself, I guess? So thank you, all of you, and for joining in. And I want to give, before we end off, just give a big shout out to the new sponsor, Cunningham Tropicals. Be sure to check him out and use ben.o. Those are letters. Ben.o. That's not a zero. That's the letter O. Ben.o 15 for 15% off on fish, and Ben.o for 10% off on dry goods. That's with Cunningham Tropicals. And he was kind enough to sponsor that giveaway last week, and was part of it along with the Aquarium Co-op. Big shout out to my friends at the Aquarium Co-op. Also, a very big shout out to all of you who have committed to becoming Patreon supporters, monthly supporters. Details are underneath the video. Thank you so much to my Patreon sponsors whose help allows me to do some of the stuff that I talk to you about in these live streams and in my videos. So big shout out to my Patreon monthly supporters. If you'd like to support the channel, be sure to give the video a thumbs up and subscribe. Thank you to all my subscribers. And if you want to go further, consider visiting the Teespring store and picking up some items there, like t-shirts, hoodies, and mugs, and all kinds of good stuff at the Teespring store. Those of you who have done that, and those of you who watched the live stream while sipping on one of these, thank you so much for that. Very appreciated. Coffee does taste better in one of these mugs. That is guaranteed. And with that, I think we will go ahead and end off this live stream. Thank you, everybody. You rock. You are the best. And I will see you, God willing, next weekend. Bye-bye for now.